always, if you can't make one of these meetings, because I know how busy you all are in staff meetings and after school clubs and a life, somebody's not here because they've gone to see Zog, which I just think is brilliant. The best thing to do is register, send me a little email saying you can't make it, then you're on the delegate list, and it means you'll get sent any recordings and any slides. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. It's great to have such a mix with us. So we've got PE leads, we've got head teachers, we've got some staff in the local authority. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Kirsty Williamson, and I'm the Children and Young People's Development Officer for Active Cumbria. So we've put this extra meeting on because there's clearly a lot of change happening with school PE and sport. And as always, we are doing our best to keep you updated in a rapidly changing picture. So I'm delighted to have Dr Vicky Randall with us today, sorry Vicky, to share the sort of national picture of what we already know and provide some advice and guidance on what is likely to come. So for those of you who've not come across Vicky before, we've been working together for probably about three years now in a range of ways. So Vicky has many hats. She's a senior advisor at Hampshire Local Authority. They have a PE advisor. I can see Sonia. They have a PE advisor, Sonia. Not that I'm jealous. She's a senior consultant at AFPI. She's been drafting the new national curriculum and many other roles. So it's great to have Vicky supporting our team with that in-depth knowledge and experience. I've also asked Nicola Charnock to join us today. She's the aquatic manager at GLL. I know that swimming's an area that lots of schools are already raising concerns about moving forward. So Nicola's going to join us and try and provide some information and support there. So lots to get through. We'll get going. If you can introduce yourself in the chat if it's not obvious who you are. So if it just says head, which lots of people do, you can just maybe pop in which school you're from, and I can keep a track on my delegate list and make sure I know who's here. If you've got any questions as we're going through, then feel free to pop them in the chat, and we've got time in a few times for questions and answers, so we'll get on with them. Okie doke. Right, Vicky, I think without any further ado, over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Lovely to see some familiar names. As Kirsty says, it's been about 3 years now. I've had the pleasure of working alongside Cumbria colleagues and Kirsty and the team. So it's great to start seeing some familiar names, schools and faces, and welcome very much to everybody. If this is the first time you've kind of popped along to some of these or some of the sessions that I've run with Kirsty, you're very, very welcome. As you know, there's quite a lot, hence why we've put this extra session on today. If you can flip forward for me, Kirsty, I think you're in control of the slides, if that's all right. I'm going to have, Kirsty, if you're right behind the scenes, to keep a check on chat and slide move. Brilliant. So if we can move forward, and also while you're having a think about today, and we'll go forwards. Oh, actually, no, I can change them. Ignore me. I can do those. If we can,
I don't think they changed for everybody. I think they only changed for you. Because it doesn't change on mine. It's still on the four areas of change.
I just do sync to presenter. Hang on, let's try again. Is that working now? No.
Still just on the 4 areas of change slide.
I've got.
We love technology.
Did you? They're uploaded for you, are they? Did you upload them, Kirsty? Sorry.
Yeah, it's playing like through my computer.
Okay.
It says sync to presenter.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Oh, Skelton are still on the welcome slide. Can everybody else just put thumbs up? Sonia, can you see the slide that says look out for? Oh, I can't actually see you now because this.
No, it's still on the welcome to the extra slide.
Oh.
Shall I upload mine? I'm just, but no, you've added some extra in. Can we re-upload them, Kirsty?
That's it. I can see agenda now.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that moving now?
Just agenda still.
No, I've moved on to welcome activity, but it doesn't look like it's.
Right, it says presenter has turned off participant navigation. Was that you, Vicky? Sorry, everybody. Right, there's people in the chat saying that they can move slides on themselves.
That's it moving now.
That's right, it's moving for me as well. If you can.
Right, you move it again, Vicky, and see if that's working.
That's gone back to the start.
Yeah, that's it. It's gone start to agenda, and now it's on the 4 areas.
Great.
Brilliant.
That's moving. So it looks like you can move it. Can you move it on then? Is that all right? Because it looks like it's moving.
Yeah, but I think it's you that's moving it, is it not? It wasn't me.
Back to welcome activity.
Hi, it's Lindsay Greenwood here.
Hi, Lindsay.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I think I can move the slides. I've got a little thing up at the top here saying private view, allow participants to move through shared presentation on their own. So I think when I've been moving them, I think it's me. Don't ask me how. Can you see a yellow on the floor
yes,
area?
You are.
Oh my gosh, I've taken control. Sorry, I don't know how. So I don't know if anyone can tell me what to do to switch off, but it's just a little icon at the top. It's got private view.
Oh, I can see. I can
allow
take
participants. Okay. Is somebody taking that off me now?
Control. Yeah,
that's great. As long as you can take control. Sorry to hog your meeting. I don't know why I did that.
That's quite all right.
You know?
Right. Okay.
Okay. I'll switch my mic off.
Very sorry. What I was going to say, everyone, we've lost the presentation now. So, Kirsty, could you reload for us? And while we're doing that, it'd be great before we started, everyone, if we can use that chat. I'm going to get Kirsty to screen it. But if you have specific questions that you really need to have answered by the time we finish today, please can you pop them in there over the course of the next sort of 5-10 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll just have a quick screen through, and if we feel we've not answered any of those by the end, we'll make sure that we have. So if there's something, don't worry if it even feels really like right, let me take control. I think I should now be able to move on to that welcome activity. Is that okay, everyone? Can you now see the welcome activity?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So if you could just pop into there any questions you'd like answered. And thank you, Lindsay, by the way. That would have been me going through a goldfish bowl for the next few minutes, panicking, working out what to do there. Please, can you drop them in the chat and we'll screen those. And I will stop after sort of little mini sections just so we can pick up questions that are relevant to the bit we've just talked about. But it'd be really great if we have some foresight as to what might be coming our way. So without further ado, there are 4 areas, as you've had a little sneaky peek already as we were navigating through those early slides, as to what we're going to just briefly bring everyone up to speed with. There are 4 kind of key announcements and changes. For those of you who have been engaging and have come along to some of our subject leadership events, these won't be a surprise to you. We have been mentioning these over the last couple of years, sort of preparing schools in Cumbria at those events for things that will be anticipated. We just never had a specific date or time. We now do have those dates, so we're clearer to move forward in this. If you're on the call today and you're like, haha, this is new areas for me, what's going on? I've had an email from the DFE as a head, or I've heard that this is happening as a subject leader. We will bring you up to speed today as quickly as we can as to what is known as of now and as of the end of this school year. So the first one is changes to the national curriculum. I'm sure that hasn't escaped anybody, particularly colleagues who are senior leaders on the call. You'll be very aware we're going through a curriculum redraft and the implications for that for PE are quite significant compared to other subject areas. So just to give you some time frame on that and where we've got to. You will have also been aware that the primary PE and sport premium has been ceased to be no more, and that has led to a change in other funding streams and ways that your schools will be supported through primary PE and school sport, and actually beyond primary. But I know colleagues on the call will be pretty much primary exclusively, but that is a widening of sector support across PE. So this is a current where we've got to, and then in terms of sport partnership network and the enrichment framework, these are then going into what's then going to happen next. So we'll have a sort of natural kind of where we're up to now and what's changing and stopping, and then what's going to be expected next and where have we got to. So they're the 4 broad areas. Hopefully that all makes sense. So this is pretty much why I think we called the meeting wasn't it, Kirsty? In the first place was when we received that announcement, a letter went to head teachers of eligible schools who are in receipt of the PE premium on, I think it was a very late afternoon on Thursday, the 21st of May, that email landed, very conveniently ahead of half term, as it does. And it announced that PE and sport premium will be discontinuing from next academic year. We have been expecting this for probably, or anticipating it for 2 or 3 years, but we weren't really sure when or really sure how. Now we do have that clarity. So your school, if you are currently in receipt of the PE premium, your school will be allocated one more instalment, which is a third of what you typically now get. And that is a transitional payment. That money can be used across the whole year. So you don't have to just use it for one term, but you are only going to get a third. So you can think about that, all other conditions of the grant will apply. So that payment will come in the autumn term, and you will have until the end of July, end of the academic year, to spend, 31st of July, to spend that money. As with all conditions of grant, particularly this year, there is definitely no carryover, and all the requirements of what that money can be spent on remain the same as per now. There will be, as you know, the window for reporting for this academic year, and that is purely for this academic year. And there will be, we hear, an update on how that final payment will be required to be reported on. But that will be a separate reporting process next school year. So in terms of premium, after what, 12, 13 years, we are saying goodbye to it. I appreciate that comes with a whole range of possible worries, opportunities. Please do try and see it as an opportunity. But what we are conscious of is there will be this period of transition of, well, it's just the third, what happens next year, and what are we going into? And that is, if I move just forward onto this next point, I did want to just stop at premium and allow colleagues to ask questions about the end of the premium now while we're here. I will then move into what is coming next in what replaces the premium, but I thought it might be pertinent to stop and just think about that period of stopping and transition if anybody has any questions, and then we're going to divert off to swimming for a little bit after that, because I appreciate that's going to affect a number of colleagues there. So Kirsty, to start with, if we have a little scope in the chat, is there any premium related questions there? And then that might give colleagues some thinking time if they want to come off and ask off mic.
Yeah, there is. So Emma from Eaglesfield has asked how much on the autumn term. So a third, isn't it, Vicky? It's a third of what you normally get.
If you can work on the third, it might work slightly different from how premium is given in those instalments, but if you can work on what your current allocation is, and again, it's done on school roll with that census date, so how many number of children you have on roll for that £10 per head over the threshold, it's approximately a third of what you're getting now based on the number of pupils on roll.
And then on that one, somebody's just jumped in, a head teacher, I'm not sure where from, and says the LA have reported 2 payments for sports funding, autumn and spring. Is that the case?
For the transition payment?
She says the LA have reported 2 payments for sports funding. I don't know whoever that was, if they want to come off mic.
Yeah, do you want to? My understanding was it would just be 1 payment in the autumn, but it could be used for the whole year.
That's my understanding as well.
Hiya, sorry, it's Sarah at Hayton here. Hiya.
Hello, Sarah.
Yeah, on the portal, maybe last week or the week before, we got the spreadsheet through, and it came through with 2 payments, autumn term and spring term, on an Excel spreadsheet. So I was really rather confused, because you said we're going to get 1 payment, but it had 2 on the spreadsheet. So that I just thought
Is there a possibility that could be a typo rollover from last year in the local authority, or has the number changed on the?
No, the number, it was, I mean, for our school, it was eight something. It said autumn term, 8 something, spring term, 8 something, and then the total was 17 something. And I was like, oh, that's a bit
that doesn't sound right to me.
I know. I thought I was getting my hopes up.
No, that sounds like, I hate to say it, that sounds like a rollover of this year, and that's just happened.
But yeah, no, but every school in Cumberland had it. It was like the spreadsheet with everybody on.
Oh dear.
Just warning you what's happened.
Okay, the good heads up there. That doesn't sound right, I'm afraid, Sarah, because there has been a bit of a pushback to the government on premium, and they have asked there has been a call for the government to reinstate another full year, but that has absolutely not been agreed, and that could just be a letter that lands in the government, and they would obviously have to find additional funds to do that significantly, and there's already money allocated to what's coming next. So although there has been pushback, I can't that hasn't been made a public agreement that that's what's going to happen at all, and the only thing we know that is certain is there's 1/3 payment in the autumn. So that sounds like a local authority issue.
Yeah, I can try and find out. Yeah, Sonia's put in the chat now. So Sonia's a local authority colleague. So she's putting some advice in the chat there. We've got Sonia with us, and I think we've got Jane. So
yeah, please do go back and check if that's just been a sort of rollover from previous years. But certainly, although you're allowed to spend the money over the full year, there was only going to be 1/3 instalment in the autumn.
And then there was a question from Skelton. I will, I'll obviously share the question with you, but I think you'll move on to just asking, how do small rural schools afford transport to events? But as Vicky said, she's going to come on to what is coming next. So yeah, if you just keep that in mind, Vicky.
I've made a note of that one, yeah.
And then the other one was about enrichment, and that's coming up later on as well. So that's good.
So I appreciate this is a big change. It does feel like one of those moments on PE's kind of long history of funding now. It's been sort of 25 years we've had of direct funding, 26 years of direct funding into PE, into primary. And it does feel like another one of those moments that is a change, and change obviously brings a level of uncertainty, how things will look. And there will obviously be a period of transition where things are resettling into new ways of being. But I do want to reassure you, I think what we're going to share next is a really positive, refreshed and important way that in response to where the premium hasn't gone quite right. I think there's been things over time that may have been okay in the earlier years, and over time we're seeing has had less effect or is not so universally effective. And the changes that we've had in policy and school landscape and funding streams and just different ways that are moving forward, it has needed a complete look and overhaul. But that doesn't mean, and I will say this now, it doesn't mean that children are going to have less. Hopefully, this doesn't directly mean that there's going to be less opportunity for young people and your schools. It just means how it's being repackaged and looked at is going to feel very different. But do keep thinking if another PE premium question comes in, but that's the up-to-date guidance we've had on premium, and as of today we can't expect any more than that 3rd transition payment instalment in the autumn. So if you've heard anything different, do please go back and check your local authority with that.
Has the reporting tool opened yet? Last I heard it hadn't opened. They were still trying to iron out some technical difficulties, but when it does open, instead of it being a closing date at the end of July, it's the end of September. Is that still right?
I believe so, yeah.
It opened on Friday.
We did it open. Excellent. Thank you.
It opened on Friday.
Oh, well done, Lucy.
Yeah. So
but you've got till the end of September, so please do not spend your summer holidays doing it.
So I think it's kind of now pertinent to hand over swimming to Nicola. Swimming has obviously been a big question of concern and changes to funding. Now, just to caveat and say, we have had the premium a long time now, and premium has become so embedded in our school funding systems and budgets for PE that it is really difficult, I appreciate, for us to decouple the PE premium and how PE budgets and things now look. But as a historical point to make, swimming is a statutory part of the national curriculum. It has been for as long as this curriculum iteration has been, if not longer, and therefore has always been, as part of national curriculum, statutory offer a legal entitlement as part of schools' normal budgets. That saying, we do appreciate budgets are stretched, and the premium has come in and has been changed in recent years to provide top-up swimming. Premium has never been allowed to offer statutory curriculum swimming, only extra additional swimming for your young people. So there is obviously concern around that and where that leaves schools. And so, yeah, Nicola, we wondered if you could pop on at this point and just share some thoughts that we had when we were talking about this the other day. And again, please ask any questions, folks, as we go through around swimming.
Yeah, afternoon everybody. Apologies, I had technical difficulties getting on at the start. I do recognise some names on here, but I'm not familiar with everybody. So those who don't know who I am, I work for our regional team as part of GLL. We look after a lot of the leisure centres in our region, which covers not just Cumbria, but I also fit into Manchester, York, Newcastle, Gateshead, Belfast and Preston. So there's quite a variety. So I do see a difference across the whole of our region from a school swimming element. Very close to my heart, I've taught school swimming for over 30 years, although albeit more recently I haven't done. And I think as part of during that time and that transition for me, school swimming and the children that we're seeing come with the likes of the schools to our swimming pools has changed so dramatically from where we would have probably seen anything from 80% of kids that could swim and 20% that can't, to absolute role reversal. We're looking at, in some classes, 100% kids have never been to a pool before. They think swimming is playing in the paddling pool in the back garden. They're like Bambi on ice when they're walking across the pool. And for me, that's absolutely heartbreaking that they haven't had in some way, shape or form an opportunity to access a safe swimming environment that ultimately is a life skill. Having 17 tragedies in the May half term, for me, it's 17 too many. So it's what we can do to help and support you as schools to make sure that there is a lot of emphasis, and I suppose parents now with cost of living, etc., do rely on schools to help and support that swimming journey for their children. But when the message came out relating to the PE funding, we've already seen, and this isn't just in Cumbria, this is outside of Cumbria, schools retracting the number of sessions that they're doing, some schools saying they're not even going to come at all. We have had some schools look at alternative provisions such as pop-up pools, and they might come into their own areas and their playgrounds. They're not endorsed by Swim England. The national governing body does not in any way, shape or form look to use a pop-up pool as an alternative to like a leisure centre or an outdoor pool or a pool that's kind of there. But for me, I do believe there is a time and a place where these could be used if that is absolutely the only viable option for a school to be able to use, especially where we live in Cumbria. I think the importance for you is to know that from a curriculum perspective, deep water is an absolute must as part of that water safety element, and the likes of some of the shallower kind of tanks and pop-up pools and other varieties of facility don't offer that deep water option for kids. Likewise, do they not offer the distance that's needed, and as a minimum, as I know you all are aware of, it's that 25 metre minimum distance, and there was talk about that stretching to 100 metres, which God knows how many laps that would be of people just going round and round and round in circles. There are some councils that will not allow any form of pop-up pools in their actual environment. I do appreciate getting to leisure centres can be hard now for some schools, and there's transport costs and additional costs. But as it's been mentioned, obviously, it is statutory on the curriculum. So I think for me, seeing how things have changed over the last absolutely 10 to 15 years, as a leisure provider, and I also sit on our Cumbria Water Safety Partnership group that links in with all of our emergency services. It links in with the Lake District National Park. Some of our council clients are on there as well. It's what can we do to help and support you moving forwards from a swimming perspective, and also looking at options for things such like, we would always advise from ourselves. I've got the stats for the whole of Cumbria that our leisure centres up until April, including Allerdale and Copeland, Carlisle, Eden, South Lakes, 38.1% of children actually hit the national curriculum target, which for me is where we live, rivers, coasts, lakes. It's really quite a scary stat to know that only 38% of them are actually where you need them to be. And reducing time or not being able to come at all, for me, is right, well, what can we now do? What can we work with the councils or other partners, other facilities, to kind of help and support you as schools to get the children what they need outside of swimming lessons, because not all parents can afford swimming lessons. I appreciate that, but what can we do to help and support you? Some options that we've spoken about with some of our schools is to, rather than look at 30-minute lessons, increase them to 45 or 60-minute classes. It then reduces the transport costs. The kids still get the same amount of time in a pool, and actually they do learn more. The stats that I've had that I've kind of worked out with, I've had over 10,000 kids in our programme between September and Easter, is that the intensive lessons do seem to work better. That's them coming every single day for 10 days in a row, rather than once a week for so many weeks, because it's like when you go on holiday, you're in the pool all the time, you more frequently, there's more of an opportunity for kids to forget or become nervy again week on week than what you are doing. But I do appreciate as well, there could be implications to that back at school and timetabling, etc. But I'm absolutely open to look at other options. Some of my Manchester centres, they do super teaching, and we have additional staff where the pools would allow, and some of the schools actually pair up and they cover the costs between them and they come at the same time. I don't know, there's lots of different things I suppose that I can do, but I guess, is there anything that you need to bring to my attention that I may not be aware of from our perspective, and to take back to the Cumbria Water Safety Partnership group as well, what we can do to help support school swimming in Cumbria? So it's kind of, I suppose, questions over to you, really, if anybody's got anything.
There's sorry, I was just going to say, Kirsty, there's some in the chat there, isn't there? I think it's transport that's causing. Yes, good question, good point, Daryl. I think transport is causing some of the biggest concerns. So even in condensed weeks, it's still 10 journeys. I know, Nicola, you shared that sometimes your schools were doing some double lessons. So rather than the 20 or 30-minute lesson, children were in for 45 minutes. So it's less journeys, but still pool time. I know this is not always possible across schools, and I do want to stress, I think this is just a bit of a reaction panic to premium going, rather than we're seeing this mass reduce and funding into swimming. I can absolutely guarantee you swimming is going absolutely nowhere on the national curriculum. It is protected. It will be there. It won't be 100 metres. It will, in terms of benchmarks, we'll see very much the same as what we're seeing now in terms of that 25 metres or more, if you can. But it will be a focus on more life skills, engagement in water, safety. That deep water experience is really crucial. So, yeah, pop-up pools will mean that a lot of your children, therefore, won't be meeting that statutory benchmark. And in the enrichment programs and in partnership network programs I'm about to share with you, there is, I think I shared with you both on Friday, Kirsty and Nicola, 52 references to swimming in the Sport Partnership Network document. So swimming isn't going anywhere, and it is recognising what's coming forward, that it needs to be invested. So I think the things we're raising at the moment are, how do we manage this next academic year without completely ripping up swimming as a statutory entitlement for children, but still ensuring creatively, if things don't move in the week by week, month by month time frame of moving from premium or getting back into statutory funding of school swimming, as it should be still now, but maybe not, before new systems and funding streams come in. So I guess, I think Nicola's point is just reach out to your local providers, speak to them. I think, like with your organisation, Nicola, they'd be absolutely horrified if they thought the response was nothing without talking to you, and thinking about how creatively schools can work together. Really important conversations maybe with PTAs to help. How can we, if this is a priority for us, how can we speak about additional funding or support? But it is technically meant to be ring fenced in the budget, but transport costs clearly are not anywhere near covering that. Any thoughts on top of that about swimming that anyone wants to? I think transport's the main thing, isn't it?
Looking at the chat, and obviously previously, I was a head teacher. I absolutely feel the pain. Just to say that, we keep passing this up. Vicky passes it up her channels. I pass it up our channels. I had a meeting today with the Active Partnership National Organisation. There's 42 active partnerships. We're just one of them. And she couldn't make it tonight, but said absolutely feedback to her what schools are saying. So we will be sending the message up as far and wide as we can, that transport costs are just such a barrier.
We absolutely feel all your pain and the realities of budgets and finding this and the time that you have to do it. But it's important to recognise that it has a life important place. We have to do something, as you say, to lobby government to work with transport companies, because it's got to get to a point where something becomes much more financially viable for schools and sustainable, environmentally sustainable in how we manage those transitions. Yes, it would be great to increase the amount of swimming children are doing, but we can't overnight create 100% more pools in the local area, or and if you add more swimming time in pools, you're taking that away from another group of people who access the water and the pools. So it's a really difficult balance to strike. Lindsay, please come off mic if you've got your hand up there.
Oh, hi. Yeah, it's me again. Sorry, I'm sitting here. I don't think there was anybody on this group chat that would not disagree with you. This is the wrong audience for this discussion. It's school cuts, isn't it? Unfortunately, I'm from a school that doesn't have transport costs because we're fortunate to walk to a swimming pool. We've had to cut our swimming budget by 50% over the last 3 years, i.e. they don't go every year now, they go at 2 out of the 4 years, and it's going to get worse. And it's not swimming, it's everything. So you need to be lobbying the government, because we all, I say, no one on this Zoom would disagree with you about it being a life skill and so important. But, we are miracle workers. I feel as if I'm at the end of the road of creativity and I've got nowhere else to go or to turn without some extra money. So, it's just, I don't want to be negative, but it's just kind of, that's you're taking messages back. Please take that strong message back. It's school cuts, full stop.
And absolutely, Lindsay. I'm going to pop an email address in to the chat here, because I know
where everyone can lobby the government.
At the association, Kate has welcomed any emails to come into inquiries@afp.org.uk. So I'll pop the email in, because what she's doing is collating any concerns around premium, because they're currently working with Youth Sport Trust, active partners, so like Active Cumbria and all the other active partners with Sport England across the country, to the more kind of overwhelm they get with complaints and concerns, they're capturing those and they can take those on your behalf as well. So I'll pop that email in before we finish, and certainly I will absolutely pass on all of this, all this chat comments as a summary so we can push forward with that. But I know it's falling on ears that know this and are doing all they can. We just wanted to partly highlight it, partly give you a space to vent about it and share, and also just hear from our leisure and pool providers saying, come and speak to us, see how we can help you and make this work over the transition. And I think that's a really reassuring message. And also for me to say, it is being picked up in future work going forward, but that might not necessarily help you for some periods of months over the next year as well. Nicola, do carry on.
Just to kind of, I suppose, finish off on my section, I suppose, from a lobbying perspective, GLL, along with many other leisure providers and councils and NGBs, are part of the Swimming Alliance. And I don't know whether any of you are familiar of the Swimming Alliance, but we do go to Parliament. We do represent that group to lobby to the government the importance of swimming and water safety. So that is something that we are a part of, and we are working hard for. I have had links with Caroline Tyson, who's linked in with Westmoreland and Furness Council, who I do know is looking at transportation links and how we can make that work for some of the schools in and around that area. And that's nothing to say that I suppose the kind of Cumberland counterpart that we can kind of maybe work with along the same lines to see if there's anything that we can do. In addition to that, we have also set up the free swimming sessions and like float to live sessions, and Swim Safe will be coming back to Lake Windermere in the summer. It can be something as well that is open to school groups. So I guess if anybody's interested in that, obviously just kind of get in contact with me. And it's something that we're piloting this summer. It was something that we had before COVID. It hasn't come back, but we're starting to come back with a hopefully that the kids do get that outdoor experience, not just in that pool environment, of what it is actually like to be out and about in the open water environment. That we are going to be looking at moving forwards as well in our region. So again, if anybody's keen on that, just kind of let me know, which it'd be good if we can get Swim Safe back, because it was a really good tool for everybody to use.
Thank you, Nicola. Yeah, really, really important. So there might be some creative other ways to give children those water experiences potentially as well in your area. I'm conscious of time and sort of moving forward to cover the kind of what's happening next, because I think a lot of this can hopefully be reassured in the longer term picture of where things are going. A little nod to curriculum at this point, and you'll see swimming come up again. For many of you, you'll be aware that in September 2028, we move to a whole national curriculum change for primary and secondary across every subject. This will be for physical education, well, for all subjects, a digitised curriculum. And I'm always sort of signposting colleagues to look at the Australian curriculum if they want to know what a digital curriculum looks like, what we mean by that. And it will, for physical education, we were one of the subjects that had been reviewed in the curriculum and assessment review that needed a comprehensive overhaul, pretty much. So this was our moment and opportunity to really look at what we're doing and to get it right. So we can expect in September 28 new subject aims, a new, well, it's currently called a purpose of study, but it will be called a rationale, which will give the overhang of the curriculum's intent for physical education, what curriculum means, how that drives your curriculum in school, and what the educational value of curriculum will be. We have been asked to elevate dance and outdoor adventurous activities, which is just a wonderful, I hope, for Cumbria to really embrace the environment and the landscapes which you live, but swimming as well. But noting your concerns, there are a number of other things happening alongside that we hope will support, again, swimming be really well embedded and supported in schools. And these are to be explicitly and clearly represented as statutory content, which has quality teaching and progression from year 1 all the way through to year 11. So again, this is a great opportunity as a curriculum drafter that we're able to write a curriculum that starts as children enter school at 4 and 5, and takes them all, 5 from year 1, and takes them all the way through to year 11 in that progressive way. If you are a curriculum that doesn't offer much dance and outdoor adventurous activities, or indeed even swimming areas, these are going to be areas that require schools to reflect and see where they're at and how that can be supported, because there will be explicit content being written that schools will need to meet. There will also be a greater emphasis on more holistic aspects of the curriculum. So we are moving away from a sport-based model of physical education to a more movement, activity and broader holistic that looks at young people's skills socially, the creativity aspects. It will look at their problem solving and teamwork and cognitive skills, as well as those emotional and affective domains of learning in PE, where young people are able to apply those emotional skills within a physical environment. So it is going to be more whole child, but competitive sport will remain still. We're not sort of scrapping it and getting rid of it, but it has to come back in balance a little bit more to a broader learning of what young people are requiring. So here's just a snapshot. I've just stolen this slide from a presentation I gave at AFPI conference last Tuesday, down in Leeds, up for me, down for you, in Leeds, to give you a bit of a comparison of what you can expect between what we've got now and where we're going in 2028. So it's going to be more comprehensive. There's going to be clearer statutory content and guidance. There's going to be revised areas of activity. There is going to be non-statutory supporting guidance other than just words in italics in brackets. That's going. There's actually going to be clearer content description for colleagues to understand what we mean by those statutory areas of content. And there's going to be key stage overviews, so you can get a feel of what the breadth of experience should be like key stage by key stage. You can also expect clearer statutory elements around swimming, water safety, dance, adventurous activities in the outdoors. And we're not going to name specific sports. We're moving away from a sport-based model. So you will start to see broader, wider experiences for how children can learn in physical environments and through physical movement. And there will be a new assessment model, but hey, that's a new challenge for me and the team over the summer to understand what assessment's going to look like. We are just inches away from getting the curriculum over the line, and apologies, there's been a delay in this going out for public consultation. The DfE have had quite a lot going on in government, I think, over the last few weeks. So they've decided to make sure we get this ready for the summer, so you can expect to see the draft proposed in the autumn. So let me just share that time frame with you. It says summer here, that's when it's being drafted. That draft will be released for your consultation now in the autumn term. We will then get your feedback across the sector and work on aspects that the sector have said they liked, they don't like, they need changing in line with the government's direction. And then the final version will be published in the spring. And schools are able to teach from it. This is non-statutory, you don't have to, for autumn 27, but you will be required to teach it from autumn, so September 2028, with that assessment review as well. Kirsty, to hand over to you just for 2 minutes, because I know we've got a next slide on an offer here that we've mentioned before.
Yeah, so when we had our subject leader meetings back in March, we spoke then about whether we can pull together some schools that would be interested in piloting the curriculum. So we would, we'd be looking to help you, Vicky and myself, be looking to help you to explore it, so that when it does become statutory, we've got, experts in Cumbria who've been trialing it. So if you're not on the list and you would like to be, drop a note in the chat or drop me an email. Over the summer holidays, while you guys are all having a lovely time off with no work to do at all, Vicky and I will try and catch up and make a bit of a plan moving forward. Obviously, I'm being tongue-in-cheek. I know you have to work a lot of your holidays. But yeah, so if you're not on the list and you'd like to be, then, and we're hoping to do this at, hopefully free for you. Hopefully free if you give us your time and your experiences. We're hoping that we can fund it sort of through the CPD budget. Yeah, Vicky and I are looking at you going, yeah, we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
We'll make it work. We'll find a way.
We'll find a way.
Please don't feel you've got to change your whole school. This could be just like, we're really interested in just working with year one so we can phase it in, or this, we would like a key stage 1 focus, or actually, can we try something out in year 6, because then they move on ready for year 7 and they've had that progression and we've kind of had a little go at it. So please don't think everything, but we think it'd just be really valuable opportunity, and it would give me an opportunity to work with schools on the labour of love of this document that we can then start to look at enacting more with schools who are really up for applying it. It's really exciting. I'm genuinely, this last version we've got is the best version, and I'm so excited by seeing it go out there and see it come to life and what schools can do with it. It's not restrictive at all, and it will allow you to have more content, to more direction, not more work, but more direction and more guidance and more clarity. So they're the key aspects for us that we hope the profession will get from that. Now, alongside the curriculum review, and try not to think of this as replacing premium, but as premium finishes, this is the new world we're going into. These 3 things are working alongside each other. So curriculum, a new announcement of a sports partnership network, a national network partnership, and the enrichment framework. So we actually get to see these policy changes get implemented and come to life pretty much alongside each other. And again, I want to reassure you that whatever's happening in terms of drafting curriculum, we are absolutely actively involved in work around the new sport partnership network. This has to talk to each other. There has to be clarity and parity and work coming together from what's happening in curriculum to then what happens around curriculum for those young people's experiences as well, from all the work that the premium has done. I've noticed there's some questions in the chat around which might come from things about using sports coaching companies and how schools will be allocated funding, because the funding is not coming directly to the school now. What opportunities are there? So just to start to shape this a little bit. So the Sport Partnership Network tender is out for tender at the moment. We have a good feel of how that network will look and will be, but will not be confirmed until, I believe, September. So the tender only is closing on August the 12th. So there's a lot of work going on over the summer to get this network plan and model up and running. The new Sport Partnership Network will replace the P in Sport Premium, but it's not a like-for-like replacement. It will be a coordinated national network. And for those of you who've been around long enough, like me and a few others, don't think of this as the previous school sport partnership. It's not that. From the old PESCL and PESIP days, this is not a like for like. This is a far more comprehensive offer and more complex offer. So whoever wins this tender is going to have a big job on their hands with this, because the expectation is ambitious, really ambitious. If you can imagine a model which works from a national network working together with governing bodies, partners in PE and sport, and it works through to regional, local partners for delivery, you will be in receipt of universal free offers of support for things like CPD, training courses, access and opportunities for your young people through local provision that is centrally funded to local providers. There is also, and again, how the model looks, whoever wins the tender might change the model, but there will also be opportunities for schools to bid in for funding, to have opportunities to receive access to funding. This is all going to be based on, and I notice comments in the chat around how will that be allocated. Schools will have to provide some baseline need for their school. You will have to know what groups of young people are not accessing physical activity, who is not engaging in physical education, what opportunities are not available for your young people, and based on the demographic needs of your communities, your families, and your young people in your schools. So schools will be required to really understand, as they do, their local need, and based on those local needs, there will be opportunities for funding to come and target those particular areas of need. That's not necessarily going to be opportunities for targeting sports or activities. It's going to be based more on broader emphasis of demographic needs, who's accessing, who's not, and what the local area and those local deliverers can offer and provide. There is way more physical education in this proposal than we were expecting. So where the premium has gone, and the premium was focused on physical education, teacher development, developing generalist teachers' knowledge and competence, that has massively shifted in the School Sport Partnership Network. So there's going to be a real emphasis on pupil outcomes and teacher confidence in primary level and upskilling the workforce still. The move is for teachers to be teaching physical education, and that is still the ambition. And that is still the expectation of the Association for PE and what the DFE are proposing. So we need to ensure that our teachers in primary school are feeling confident and competent to go and teach quality physical education. There will also be big metrics and measures around how active young people are. And so the Sport Partnership Network will be around opportunities for how young people can be more active and reach those active 60 minutes a day while they're in school and beyond. This will be very much about the devil in the detail, will be very much about whoever wins that tender, those big organisations coming together, and what the local and regional offers can do. There'll be quality benchmarking against the workforce. There'll be a more rigorous approach to ensuring that what schools have are centrally offered. And there will also be universal support. So if you can imagine a digital platform where you can go and access free resource, free webinars, upskilling, courses and training, and more bespoke offers as well. So this really is a very complex, it was 150 pages long, this document. So forgive me, it took a little while to digest it. But swimming's really prominent in there, young people's physical activity in there, quality physical education, teacher workforce, they're all being prioritised. And it's around about £560 million is going into this network over 3 years. It is planned, she says, for spring 27. So the reason government have done the transition payment for premium is to manage the autumn term. And the aim is for these sport partnership networks to start working in the spring. I will be absolutely blown away if that happens, because the complexity of these networks, and the tender hasn't even been agreed yet. But that's when the planning and the funding starts from. So there will be pilots, there will be work starting on this. But the reality for some schools might be there's a transition year with a small pot of transition money and pockets of activity happening. So we need to be really thinking about how we grasp those opportunities, or how we keep that transition year. And as I said, active partners, Sport England, YST, have all pushed towards government to extend additional funding for the year. Whether that happens or not is yet to be known. So as it stands, sport partnerships kick in the spring, and you have your transition funding to help manage that period in between. Alongside that is a third initiative, which is starting a lot sooner, and I'm sure many of you working in leadership will be aware of this. This is the new proposed enrichment framework. And this has another 132.5 million, and this has come from the Every Child Can. Some of you would have been aware of the white paper that was published a few months ago, where this was announced alongside the sport partnership networks and all the other enrichment provision. So if you can think, we have the statutory elements of curriculum. The ambition here is that all children have a statutory entitled to enrichment as well, and that every child can access skills and opportunities to develop their knowledge, skills and experience in personal, social and emotional development. That is an extension of an enrichment of their curriculum offer. This is not about starting again. This is about building on what is already really great enrichment practice in your schools. And I know so many of you do amazing things, partly facilitated through PE and sport, but not just exclusively PE and sport, and partly because it's been facilitated through premium. So you can see more money's being directed through this, even though premium's not happening. The key thing now is enrichment now needs to be a strategic action of schools. It needs to have a more profile strategic policy role within school leadership and school overall school planning and structures. So we will see this linked very much to Ofsted inspections. There will be benchmarks for what good enrichment looks like, supported by case studies, resources and self-assessment tools. And I've put a link in the resource there. I'll pop it in the chat as well. There is already an enrichment toolkit that has been released, which has those benchmark statements. So schools can start looking at the benchmarks to see where do we fit, how do we fit in terms of a profile. And Ofsted will also update their toolkit from September. Sorry, train going past. Ofsted will also update their toolkit from September, and enrichment's going to become a lot more prominent under the personal development side of Ofsted inspections. So I have hyperlinked the enrichment benchmarks comparison toolkit. You could probably Google it and the link would come up directly for yourselves. And all you need to do is type in a free account login and you can download the toolkit. I've been through it. It's a very easy access document. And I'll show you in a sec. Here we go. This is what it looks like. And it covers the 8 areas of benchmarking. So there are 8 benchmarks of what enrichment will look like as a whole school strategic approach. I won't go through all the 8 areas today because we're super running out of time. But if you go into the enrichment benchmark companion toolkit, you download your toolkit, you will see the 8 areas and they will look like this. They'll take each area and they'll benchmark and share what good looks like for enrichment. Enrichment will cover 5 enrichment areas. So you've got 8 benchmarks. Schools aren't expected to necessarily cover all areas of enrichment. And this is very much for a school to look at what best suits their communities and their children and their young people. But you can see here that physical education, dance, the arts, outdoor adventurous activities, there is some cohesion here with what we're doing with the national curriculum. And there is, well, more than some, there is an intentional link to what's happening with the enrichment curriculum and what we're doing in the PE curriculum. And there is loads here for PE, sport and physical activity. At least 4 out of those 5 areas directly relate to the work we do in physical education and school sport. And as we know, sport and physical activity, nature, outdoors and adventure, and dance through arts and culture is being elevated through national curriculum, statutory content as well. So there is some kind of dovetailing here of what's expected. So these are the 5 enrichment areas, and then you've got 8 benchmarks which go from strategic aligned offers all the way through to continuous improvement and engagement of your young people. And there's the toolkit to download. So Kirsty, just to hand over for like a little minute. I'm very happy to stay on the call, by the way, if anyone wants to ask any questions, but if those have to fly, we'll wrap up quickly and hopefully pick up something else as we...
Yeah, thanks, people. We appreciate it. It's practically 5 o'clock. So if you do need to go, absolutely just go. Thank you very much. If you want to stay, then that's great, but we will fly through quickly. I will send the recording out. It just takes me a little while. Our marketing's got to convert it to YouTube and things. So once I get it, I'll send it out to you all so you can catch up on anything that you've missed. But as always, I'm at the end of the phone, I'm at the end of an email. And if I don't know, obviously I can go to Vicky, or like I say, I've got colleagues in like Youth Sport Trust, Active Partnership National Organisation. If you just want to have a bit of a rant and send a cross email, then by all means do. You know, these aren't our decisions and we can pass up your concerns. So yeah, so moving forward, so yeah, obviously next year is going to be really tricky. We know that, we do know that. But you know, do your best to meet all the statutory requirements. You know, that still needs to be done. Think really carefully about how you're going to spend your money that you get in the autumn term. As Vicky said, it doesn't have to be spent in the autumn term. You can use it across the year. Think about what your key areas of priorities are. If you need CPD, then please just get in touch. There's lots of providers, as you can imagine, coming out. We've got trusted providers we already use, but there's also new providers that we're looking to work with, looking to get as much free CPD as we can. Certainly, we always try to keep costs low for you. Works best if there's a little cluster of you that wants a course. We can look at that certainly. Think about your enrichment. You'll be doing so much of it already. I know you are. Sonia knows you are. Jane knows you are. You're doing so much of it already. It's just kind of just coming under a different name. Some of you as older will remember, was it Every Child Matters? Was it back, not that long ago? Well, maybe it was quite a long time ago.
Early 2000s, Kirsty.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah. So quite a long time ago. Then showing my age. So there's nothing desperately new in there. You are having a really good go at doing these things. Crack on, Vicky, because I will keep talking.
Yeah.
So we've moved forward our subject leaders courses to put them in the autumn term to try and provide you with that timely support. We can soon put more on in the spring term. Those dates are confirmed. As soon as we get booking details, as soon as we get Eventbrite set up, that'll come out to you. They're not till November, so for now it's really just to save the date. I've listed all the people that are interested in curriculum pilot. Like I said, Vicky and I'll try and work on something over the holidays for that and get something out to you in September. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. Thank you for your time. We know it's difficult. We know it's stressful. We know that change is hard. I do think in the long term it's going to be better for our children, for our young people, for our schools. It's just getting there, isn't it? There's a few questions in the chat, Vicky.
I've picked up one about QTS, which I couldn't way to address. Thank you, Laura, for this. So yes, the Children's Wellbeing Bill was passed this year. That explicitly sets that all schools will be needing to appoint qualified teachers into curriculum. That's across, I believe, even independent schools and free schools, academy trust schools. There is a slight caveat for PE. The key message is there shouldn't be a non-QTS member of staff overseeing and teaching all of the physical education in your school. The level 5 has been put in place to manage the transition of if you've got some fantastic coaches or people in your school who want to move on to teaching degree apprentices or eventually, but we are talking long term here. This is years down the line. But yes, in essence, Laura, that is still the intention, that we are moving to a QTS profession. We've always been a QTS profession for physical education. That hasn't changed. If you are relying on sports coaching, we are conscious that the premium may affect who is teaching physical education in your school. Therefore, there needs to be a more sustainable model of curriculum teaching in schools from core teaching budgets around physical education. There will be, I suspect, some interesting conversations around this in the new School Sport Partnership Network and how those benchmarks for teaching align with the Children's Bill and the QTS profession, and where level 5 may sit as subsidised or supported offer. But AFPE are rolling out their level 5 qualification now. If you do have colleagues who are wanting to move in the direction to maintain teaching PE in your school, but they're currently a level 2 in football, for example, and they have no other wider teaching qualifications, it would be a good move if you want to keep those colleagues on board. I am very aware that the removal of the premium may be a bit of a jerk for colleagues in terms of who is now teaching in school. But please remember that Sport Partnership Network, its intention is to retain quality local providers. So there is not going to be a workforce that's just dismantled. It just has to be redirected where our teachers are teaching PE and our coaching workforce are offering all that enrichment, engagement and wider support. So I think that's probably a very long-winded answer. The answer is yes, in the long term, we should be moving to QTS. At the moment, there is still allowance in the Children's Bill for non-QTS to teach aspects of physical education. But if your school are relying solely on non-QTS, that needs to be under a very, very close watch of someone with QTS in the school, so they know what's being planned, what's being delivered, and how that's being monitored. And the Sport Partnership Network will create quality workforce benchmarks to help manage that transition over the next few years. That's the aim. But big expectation on QTS for teaching. Thank you. sorry, that was it's always quite a complex one, the QTS one. Any other questions of anyone who wants to stay on? Please feel free.
Darrell made quite an interesting point. I'm not sure if we know this because I think it's probably the devil's in the detail, but well, Darrell made lots of interesting points, but the one that sort of really jumped out to me, and we hear it and see it all the time, is that funding's going to schools that need it most, places that need it the most, the underserved. Do we have any idea yet how those schools' pupils are going to be identified?
Yeah, so great question. That does come back to that point I made about the Sport Partnership Network. There is going to be lots of school baseline assessments that schools will need to do. So you don't have to do a PE premium return every year, but there will be some baseline surveying that your school needs to undertake. So the DFE or the national partner who wins the Sports Partnership Network have a very, very clear overview of what specific schools need to target provision. So that will be in combination with what local and regional needs are as well, and what opportunities there are for schools to access things. So yes, your school will be required to submit demographics and baseline profiles year on year to show where need sits for your school, and that should then open doors for what support and resource you will then get.
And then Rachel from St Patrick's was asking about the enrichment grant. So I think she means the additional money that schools can apply for. Is there additional money that schools can apply for?
So again, Rachel, that will be announced when whoever wins the tender decides what it looks like. But currently there is suggestions that schools will be able to bid for funding directly to them. But again, that won't come out until September and the autumn term until we know what that looks like. Again, that might be more needs driven based on that baseline assessments of schools that's being taken place. And I did read about swimming and transport. So, you know, that there may be some opportunities there for schools to access some transport help as well through what the partnership network is offering. But yeah, it's a wait, because if they disclose too much now, whoever wins the tender might then slightly change the model of what they're offering. So we do need to wait until the autumn to see what that detail is.
I think that's all the ones that I've seen. Apologies if I've missed anything. The chat's been quite busy, which is great. If I have missed anything, feel free to stick your hand up or come off mic and ask.
Yeah, no problem. We've seen comments like, as and when we get more info, could we put on some extra meetings, Kirsty? Yeah. I think absolutely. And those November days, they've been deliberately placed, those course days in November on the 18th and 19th, because we will have the curriculum draft out. We will have a notice of the Sport Partnership Network, and the enrichment framework will be live. So by November, we will be in hopefully a really clear place. So if you can get onto those days, one of those days, that there's going to be a lot more detail that can be shared and discussed with you all, and some planning time as well, as always, we put into those sessions. Another conference, Kirsty, there's been a shout out.
Yeah, no, yeah. We do talk about it a lot. The tricky thing is sort of trying to gauge when the time is, when it is the right time. We don't want to do it and then all of a sudden more announcements come out and more changes come, but we're definitely in talks about it. So I will feed it back up my chain of command that there's a demand for this, and Vicky and myself and Chris Bramwell and Leslie and all the people that we work so well with will get our heads together and try and pull something together. But certainly in the interim, I mean, these are great because they're relatively easy when the technology works. They're relatively quick. I know we've gone way over now today, but you know, we'll keep putting these on. We're such a geographically disparate county that it's hard to, you know, it's not impossible to bring it all together. So we'll keep putting these on. And like I said at the start, if you can't make it, register, drop me an email and say, I've got a staff meeting, I'm going to see Zog, whatever it is, and then you'll get access to the recording and the slides. But we're definitely here to support you. Thank you everybody for your thank yous. That's lovely to read. Hopefully you've all found it useful. We could talk for hours. But yeah, it's definitely time for you all to go home and have a nice evening and just get in touch if there's anything we can help with. Okay, thank you very much. Stop.
I'm just trying to see can you see the screen now? No.